Good morning, traders. So we're still using the Bill-Williams theory and starting off with the Aussie, the South African top 40 this morning. Yesterday we had a fairly bearish day. Not quite, it didn't quite hit the levels that I was expecting it to hit. But yeah, that is very typical of this thing during the holiday period. It is so volatile that it's almost a guessing game with the levels. So I haven't made a trade on this, and I don't intend trading this for the rest of the week because I know it's going to be pretty much the same for the rest of the week. Okay, so let's just look at the price action at the moment. We do have some form of a trend line developing here. So sort of that, and you probably find that somewhere along here will be a channel forming, probably something like that. Okay, so this bottom trend line is obviously the key. So in other words, the key here is the low of yesterday, which is pretty much around there. It does tie up with this inside tail, but I prefer a fractal, which would be this one here. Okay, so nothing much really that I can point out there. If we look at the 4 hour, it'll come a little bit clearer and we'll be able to move these things around. So there's my inside tail there. Okay, this is obviously my first one, this bar here, but we've already broken through that. So move it down to the next one, which would be that inside tail. Okay, so remember, this is not an inside tail, that's not an inside tail. Price hasn't come past it yet. So you've got to keep looking left for the level. And then the next level is obviously this area here, where we gapped down, reversed, and closed up here. So that lines up with this tail, but that is the zone that I would expect some kind of buyers to step in. But in the same, well, on the opposite side of the scale is we've had some kind of an upward movement, although it's been very choppy. We've broken below the alligator. Alligator is now pointing down. Yes, we have a pin bar here. We've got two pin bars basically, which could pretty much be seen as a wise man number one entry. So a break above this pin bar here is the entry, which would have triggered you, and the stop is below this other tail. Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit conservative here. I'm going to say the following. We have broken this level here, although we haven't closed below it. So this previous swing low, which is a 4-hour fractional, and that is 45,657. So call it 45,660. And we are below the alligator, and we're also below the 200 moving average on the 4 hour. So I would say that this potential little bounce here is more than likely going to break to the downside. Okay, that's just what I'm reading in the chart at the moment. So even though we do have a positive bullish signal here, and we've got oscillators groups at the bottom, we haven't quite done this off a level. And normally when a pin bar doesn't come off a decent level, it normally just continues in the direction that it was going. So yeah, so that's kind of what I see there. And if we drill down to the hour, it'll become a little bit clearer as well. So you'll see we gapped down, we broke through the 200, we came back, tested the break, came back and tested it a second time. During that time, the oscillators have grouped to the upside, alligator still pointing to the downside. So for me, just clean the noise, I'm expecting a second move, which would be something like that. Because this little thing that we see here is pretty much a consolidation pattern. Okay, so I'm expecting a break of this consolidation pattern, and I'm expecting us to target 43800. Okay, if I just scroll to the left, just do this on the weekly. I suppose you can also see on the weekly how we are below the 200 moving average on the weekly, and we're just toying with it at the moment. So that is our level. Here's a previous swing low here. There is an inside tail. There are a few inside tails in this area. Okay. Well, anyway, that is pretty much what I'm looking at the moment. Okay, so I'm looking for a break of this bottom trend line, which would then confirm a fairly decent move down to 43,800. So the actual level we're looking to break is pretty much this previous swing low, this fractal here on the half hour, and that is 45,480. Yeah, 45,480 is the level I'm looking to break. Okay, so if we just look at the factors that are going to influence us, right now Nasdaq futures is down 2%. The rand dollar is 14.51, so that's up slightly. It'll work against the short, and 10 cents at the moment is only 0.36% down. S&P futures is down 1%, Dow futures is down 1% or 1.3%. So US markets are down, Asian markets are down. 10 cent is pretty flat, but I do suspect that there is more downside coming. That's just my bias for me at the moment. Okay, so the other thing to just bear in mind is on the half hour you can see we've broken the 200. On the hour we've broken the 200. On the 4 hour we are below the 200. The daily we're below the 200 moving average, and the weekly we're below the 200 moving average. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at. Okay, everything is indicating on the high time frames that the trend is down. The daily, it looked like we had a trend change, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens today, because if this continues the downside, you'll see we'll have a crossover like we had here and accelerates the downside. Okay, so just to summarize this quickly, I would like to see a break, sort of a break below this level. So I'd like to see a breakout below 45,480, and that is a level that I'll be looking to trade. Stop losses are going to be above, pretty much above the 200 moving average, so above 4,600. Okay, so we need a stop loss above 4,600, and so it's basically almost a 600-point stop loss. So just make sure that your risk profile is correct. So you don't want to risk more than 2% of your capital on your stop. Okay, so that's my view on this at the moment. I suspect this downside is going to continue. I'm looking for a second move. The other thing that I can see is that we are kind of consolidating here, and could move a little bit further than what I'm thinking. And last but not least, here is a trend line, and you can see we're floating with a trend line with these two pin bars, but we have broken below it. And often when that happens, especially with a tail this size, you can almost guarantee the bet that it's going to move to the downside. So that's kind of my play at the moment. These pin bars are going to trap a couple of bulls, and the bears are going to take them out, and the stops are going to get triggered sort of below the pin bars, and once that happens, it's just going to be a free fall down to this level, 43,800. Okay, so that's my play for the Aussie at the moment. We'll wait and see what happens at the Open, but specifically European Open. So at this stage, for me, this is a consolidation pattern. I can tidy it up. It's a rising wedge, and I'm looking for a break of this rising wedge. In other words, I'm looking for a break below, not the low of yesterday, although the low of yesterday will come into play, but this first fractional at 45,460 is the one that I want to see go. Once that goes, that'll give me the confidence for the short and the stop. Just a fairly high stop to start with, then we'll just move the stop down. Okay, and target on this move is pretty much 43,800. Okay, what would deem this a failure is a half-hour break and close above 4,600. If we get a half-hour break and close above 4,600, then there's a good possibility that we can get the opening high of yesterday, and second target would be this gap close here. Okay, so to the upside, you're looking at 46,500 and 47,070. Okay, so that's kind of the trade the upside, trade the downside, although my bias is to the downside. So that's what I'll be waiting for today. Okay, so anyway, again, it's just a break above these two fractals. Draw those fractal levels in, watch it. You're looking for, as a minimum, a 12 or 15-minute close, either side of those fractals. But I would advise you to follow at least the half-hour alligator. So long as you're below the alligator on the half-hour, trend is down. If it changes to the upside, then your trend is to the upside. Okay, so that's me for today. I hope it helps, and yeah, just keep our stops really tight on this asset. This thing is going to be very volatile. You can see it within an hour and a half when we're moving between overbought and oversold. That just shows you the volatility that we have because of the low volumes. Okay, here we go. Hope it helps, and I'll catch up with you later. Cheers for now.